So when are you going to die? Have you got plans? No, very few of us have, unless of course we know there's something wrong with us. But when you try to work out exactly when you might die, just at the moment, you might get a bit of a shock. Now, normally people say, well, let's go and find a list of countries. So, Wikipedia, there's a list of countries by life expectancy. As you can see, number 1 is Monaco, and the average life expectancy is 87.2. Men can expect to live to 85.3 years old, and women can expect to live to 89. Females are always slightly longer lived on average than males. And you can always pause even the video and have a look at your country. So I'll just quickly scroll down through them now. So you can see the United Kingdom, 81 years old average. United States, 79.8 years old. And this is where you find out just how many countries that there are in the world. And we'll get down to the bottom in a minute. You can see the number is dropping. And there we go. So in places like Nigeria you can only expect to live to 53. In places like Sierra Leone, 47. And the reason for this really is not so much bad nutrition, it's more war. Your cause of death is likely to be being shot by somebody on the other side. But these tables are all very well and good, but they don't actually take the other side of the equation into consideration. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, technology at the moment is moving on in leaps and bounds. In fact, it's on an exponential course. That means it accelerates every year. The pace of technology is almost but not quite doubling every year. And this has huge implications. Now, it has huge implications especially for aging. And the reason for that is that dying is what you might call a movable feast. Sure, you can walk out in front of a bus tomorrow and die outright. But on the other hand, you could live until something more gentle takes you away. And there is a gentleman called Ray Kurzweil, and you can Kurzweil, and you can Google him and find some of his websites and some of his books. I've read a few of his books. And he is a very good futurologist. He's very good at looking into the future. The American government have employed him a lot to do exactly that. And one of the things he points out is that if you can live for the next 50 years, then barring accidental death and everything else, effectively you would be immortal. That's not to say you'd really live forever, because if you carry on tweaking the nose of probability, then sooner or later something's going to bite you on the arse. The piano is going to come falling out of the 22nd story window and smash you on the head, and that will be it. But effectively, by one technological means or another, you would become immortal. And this is the roadmap that he maps out. Now, he's just recently changed his mind, and he's brought that forward for the simple reason that there are now not one but 5 different life extension drugs on trial with the FDA, each one of which will increase your lifespan by between 20% and 50%. Now, in 10 years' time, one or more of these drugs, and they'll be cheap drugs because of the volume of the demand, will be available. And that means that if you can survive the next 20 years or so and start taking some of these cheap life extending drugs, then well, you're going to survive until the other technologies kick in. So what are these other technologies? Well, the one that shows most promise is one called nanotechnology, and that is to say, making machines that are so tiny that they're smaller than a human blood cell, letting them loose inside your body to effect whatever repairs are needed, or cleaning out your arteries, for example. Now, there's already a variation of this being used in eye surgery, where these micromechanical systems are being used for removing corneas and removing cataracts. And it's not far away, to be absolutely honest. It is thought that within the next 10 years we'll have a working, what they call an assembler, which is capable of putting together things one atom at a time, and from then on it's a design problem. So within 30 to 40 years we should see this technology coming on stream, and it has a lot of promise. It has a lot of problems, because if you think an atom bomb is bad, you wait until you think what unrestrained nanotechnology could be like. And that brings us to another point, which is, will the government let you use these technologies? And that's a question that's a bit outside the purview of this interview, but you think about it. If you were a government, would you allow people to extend their lifespan indefinitely, bearing in mind that as a government you have pension costs, you have costs on them going, into the future, potentially infinitely? And the answer to this is possibly not. Another possible technology which is already seeing application, as everybody knows, is transplant technology, where organs are not just being harvested from people nowadays, they're actually being grown to order. As I speak, organs are being grown to order for people as replacements. And as soon as we get a bit better with genetics, we'll be able to match those organs exactly with your genome, so there'll be no rejection. So that's another technology that's going to come online possibly in 10 to 15 years. Then if you go a bit further, the thing that would stand to make you truly immortal, if you didn't mind leaving your body behind, would be to download your brain into a computer. Now this sounds far-fetched, but believe me, there are an awful lot of people working on ways to make this happen, and nanotechnology would make it easier. Now already we've got a computer that passes the Turing test, and people can find it indistinguishable from talking to a human being. And this has happened about 5 or 6 years ahead of where Ray Kurzweil thought it would happen. So we're well on the track to having really good artificial intelligence. And it's a small step from there, it is felt, from being able to actually download your consciousness into a machine, so that the machine would react in exactly the same way as you, and you would then be the consciousness inside the machine. A bit of a mind-boggling thought, but there you go. And this is where I'll leave you today.